Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's going to be a slow week this week, so we'll see what we actually managed to get out in content and some of the cool things that we're going to do next, which will be planning out some hydraulic lines and steering lines and bits and bobs like that. So as you can see, we're still in the aft cabin. It's slowly getting painted. I'll give you another little look in a sec. The floors are nearly done, rapidly running out of paint, need to go and get some. But essentially, progress is progressing nicely. The floors are coming up nice, and I'm very happy with them. So just that centre bit there to do in the floor. That's all done. One little piece in there I'm about to paint, need to get some tomorrow. And tanks are all done. So some of it has a second coat, some of it is only getting its first. We've swapped paints, it's kind of gone from a grey to a more of a white one. But the light isn't actually showing it up, it's looking way more yellow on the camera than it is to the naked eye. So we're getting there slowly. I'm still painting the inside of the cabin, the aft cabin, and currently I've run out of paint, so I'm waiting for that to come. And while I've got nothing to do for a day or two till the paint comes, I'm going to start working on the outside of the boat now that we're actually in April and the weather's getting a little bit better. So thankfully it's a lovely fine day, a little bit overcast, but it's fine here today. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So now that we're outside finally, I'm able to put my attention to the outside of the boat. So this is the swim deck here. Now there's a couple of things here. These big grooves here in the floor are to take davits that will sink down into the floor under the teak decking when we get to build that, whenever we get to build it. But this is the gas locker, and it was supposed to be a bit of storage as well. Now one thing I did is, while I built this myself, it's actually sectioned pipe and mild steel, and it has a little edge there and everything's fine. Don't mind our temporary windows for now. But this edge here, I'm going to try and point at it, this edge here was never right. It lined up all perfect. There's the lid of it underneath. That was made over 13 years ago. But this edge here will always be a problem because it'll never seal right. It'll always be scratching. It needs a much bigger thing. So I'm actually going to take that whole strip out of it, clean all that metal up, and put in an angled reciprocal plate to take the lid of the top, and you'll see what I'm going to do. So you can see there at the bottom of that was the decider. It was almost through and I wasn't living with it. The rest of it I could have tidied up, but not down there. It's a mess, but at least it's a removed mess, and it's just going to get worse. So I'm happier now that it's gone, and I'll rebuild it all. So the last week I really haven't got a whole lot done. I'm waiting on paint, I'm waiting on bits and pieces, and I'm hoping to start the outside of the boat as well. Fairing and whatnot. Now the fairing compound I got years ago is long gone off, and most of the paint that was bought will actually end up in the bin, so it's just a little setback, but time will prove all that. So years ago when I built this gas locker at the back, and you just saw me cutting it away the other day, or at least grinding it away, I've now taken it away completely. I think it should be in the shot there on the floor. That's the other half of it. So the bottom of that is very badly pitted, and there wasn't a whole lot left in it, to be honest. And the other problem was that although it was a plan on design when I initially ordered the boat and ordered the steel to be cut, I probably should have raised the little windows in the back of the boat. I should have raised those maybe another, 2 or 3 inches, 80 centimeters or millimeters or something like that, to give me a little bit more room at the top of the gas bottle, because as you can see, I'll just kind of line it up there, the top of the gas bottle, and that's the standard Irish and UK gas bottle. And I'm assuming they'll have similar in Europe and in America. Of course, they just get them refilled, but they're pretty much the same size. I've googled them, so I had left myself a little bit short on the height, so I can't raise the container because of the windows, and I don't want to. So the easiest plan, and I've been racking my brains with this for a couple of days, coming up with a solution for it. So the empty bottles don't need the same space because they don't have the regulator on top, of course. So it's really only the one or two that'll be in use, whether I do have two connected and switch between so that I'm sort of a faster changeover or something. So I'm just going to turn the camera now, and I'm going to show you the extent of what I'm trying to deal with here. So as you can see here now, that top strip is there. Now I'll probably keep that, and my new plan is to, this container could take 5 of those bottles of gas, and my new plan is not to have a top mounted lid, because that was always, that's why I ended up taking this apart, because the way I built it in my innocence 12 years ago wasn't fit for purpose and wasn't going to last. We also have some damage now. That's as a result of literally 12 or 13 years of just sitting there. So you can see it's very badly pitted, but it's really localized to just that area there. The rest of it is fine, as you can see. It's very superficial, but here we have a problem. So I'm going to be fixing that. So in order to get the height problem solved, because I've already gone down here where I'm going to be putting in my retractable davits, I actually, this is this area here is in the back of the aft cabin. I'll just put it in there, and it's in under there. So my plan is, I'll just see if I can see this with the sunlight and use my finger. My plan is that, so I leave a spare full height there and a full height on the other side over here. So that's, imagine my little drawing the end of the bottle of gas roughly there. They'll be full height and they'll clear the height of this absolutely no problem, because they won't have the regulator on it. They're much shorter. And in this area here where I have the bath floor, I'm going to build the box a little bit bigger, because see this well line here, that's actually the transom of the boat, so I'm still inside the boat, and I'm actually going to cut out a whole section here across for 3 bottles of gas and lower it by 100 millimeters, 4 inches, plate it all out, like literally build the box separate to it, drop it through the hole, weld it completely. It'll remove all this rusty rubbish here I won't have to deal with, and then replate the whole thing again, use the exact same curves. I still have the power to do that, the same line, but move it out just maybe another inch, 40 millimeters or an inch and a bit or something like that, because I do have the space to do it. Give myself a little bit more space, and it will have a lovely flat top then, fully welded up, and my access doors will be plastic or fiberglass, proper boat ones with the, you know, fully sealed up. And I'll put 2 of those there, and that will allow me put in my spares. It'll just mean taking one out to put one in and moving them around, but none of that will be a problem. This is not a long term, you know, a bottle of gas like this lasts a normal kitchen for weeks at a time. So I just want to have plenty of it on board so that I can go foreign and not have to deal with trying to get gas in different converters. Just bring enough with me. We're still painting in here, and I'm waiting for paint. So you can see we got so far, and you can see the bits that aren't done. We've run out of this paint and waiting for that to come, and then we can press on. And the other thing is I'm still waiting on my air-fed mask, so I can't epoxy, because I'm not going to paint without it. So I've committed to making the sunken down part on the back of the swim deck for to house the gas, to just bring it down. I was originally going to go 100, I've gone 130 millimeters, and I've left enough plate to get the bottles in there. I have the hatches picked out. So this is what I'm doing today, just going to make up this little box, hoping to get most of it done. So I've just those 2, so they're the little side pieces, they're the longer bits, and there's the base of it. I'm going to tidy all that up, corner to corner, tack it and weld it, and then I can hopefully cut the floor tomorrow. I'm going to jigsaw that rather than using a plasma or a grinder or something. I will have to use a grinder in just one little place. It's just the middle of the curve. But the reason for that is because the sparks will just damage the paint on the inside of the boat, whereas the dust that comes off the jigsaw there is way much colder and less damaging. I can just put a few cloths in there and gather it all. So I'll just keep going with what I'm doing here. I'm nearly done. Just using all the scrap that I'd left lying around from the fuel tanks. Nothing in steel is waste. Literally what ends up going out in the bin from time to time is tiny little pieces, but everything else is kept and reused. I need this little light here because I'm fighting daylight outside, so I actually can't see the line if it's in my shadow. So just for clamping purposes, I'll come in as far as here, I'll come in as far as here, and then I can move it around to get the last two. I've all the parts made now, 4 sides and the base, so I can polish those now with a wire brush on a motor and give them a quick smoothing down so that at least they're tidy enough that I can finish them easier. No point, it's easier to do them on the flat. I'll tack them up. I don't know if I have enough gas. I may need to get some on Monday, but I should have enough gas just to at least tack it up because I'm getting very low and I have the other bottle empty already. And get at least that side of it made, because then I can use what I've got built and tacked to mark the boat where I'm going to cut through there, and at least I can be doing that. So there's the box now. I've corner to corner welded it, which is actually the outside of the box, which is the bit that will be actually in the aft cabin underneath. And the reason for that is you can't inside corner to corner weld on the inside of sheeting, so you have to do it on the outside. It's a much better weld, and to be honest, the risk of gas coming into the living quarters is much higher than having to deal with seal on the inside. So I prefer to have it done on this side, to be very honest, and I'll do the same then on the top of the other side, but it won't be welded on the underside, it'll just be welded. So it's come up perfect. I'm very happy with it. I'm going to sit the 3 bottles into that and give you a little look. I only have 2 bottles, so we can just do a little transfer, and then I'll just tidy up those welds. There's very little spatter. Welded lovely there in the machine today, and still plenty of gas, so I managed to get it all done, and I'm very happy with it. The idea, of course, is that this will be flush to the swim deck, so they'll actually go in and go down, and the hatches will be here. which will all still be within under my 2 feet. So it'll just be a case of dropping in the bottle and then shove one over and dropping in the second one, but I'll have 2 hatches. So that's my plan. Oh, that's it. Sanded down. The reason why these are all smooth on the inside is because for painting purposes on the inside of the boat, there's no point in having them rough. Someone will get hurt just trying to paint them. It'd be much easier to paint inside. So I'm going to offer that up onto the swim deck now and see where I'm going to cut the floor. I won't be doing that today, but at least I'll be able to have some marks on the floor and see where we go with it. So thankfully I think I'm going to write this one off as a success. So I'll just show you there now. I just have it laid on for now and I have some pencil lines drawn. I've taken measurements, is exactly where it needs to be. That's exactly. So you can see the old line of the old box that's there. Now the new box is going to be slightly bigger, so I'll move these corners back out. I'll be making all this in brand new and I'll be joining it onto this top seam here. So it's going to have a flat lid now that's joined on, as I explained earlier, with a round and a little radius on it as well. And if you look at the heavy line, the one where my foot just stops there, that's actually the transom of the boat. So I've allowed myself, when this dips down through, enough for insulation. There's no point in going too close because then I couldn't get insulation down the back of this. I couldn't get access to even get in and paint this in the years to come. So I think it's the best thing to do is put it there and then make the box slightly bigger just on the outside. And very happy with that. So with the jigsaw I've managed to get 3 of the 4 lines cut, and I'm about to do something I'd never recommend anyone to do, but I'm going to take very good care of myself and wear goggles and the whole lot. But I'm actually going to run a 9-inch grinder with no guard on it, but it'll be fine. The reason why is it's so close to the back edge there. You'll see it's so close, it's literally only about 25 millimeters from the back edge, but it does mean I can get across that thingy, so I'm going to do that now. Well, there we are. You can see while the steel looks rusty, look, the full thickness of it is there. Absolutely nothing missing off any of it. Now, minimal damage. I had that cloth in there, it didn't go on fire, and the timber's there, so any of the sparks that have landed have just gone down on the floor there. I'll get them out of it. And I will have to, I'll just keep this straight here, I'll just run my finger here because we're going down 130. You can see the line there I cut, and then I cut this one, so that has to continue straight down, and so there'll be a little chunk taken out of this. But remember, it's going to be welded to the box, so then it's going to come back up again, so it'll be fine. And this is just stiffening the back of it, so by the time we get to here it's going to be perfectly fine. So here we go. Anyone want to take some bets and see will this fit through? Look at that. So Sunday hasn't turned out to be so good. As you can see, it's been raining here on and off, and mist and whatnot. So I have the box out. I'm actually going to bring it to the garage because there's a drain to go into it. Now, I knew that. Firstly, any leaking gas heavier than air will want to vent out. So there will be vents on the outside of the gas locker as well, but also at the bottom of it in case any water gets in there. Now it should be a fairly dry compartment. In case any water gets in there, I'm going to weld in a bit of 20mm stainless into the end of it and fully finish it out. So it's a little 20mm piece of pipe. I don't know where I found this. It was in my little stainless scrap box, but it'll do perfectly just to weld in. I'll just stop it there, cut that. And the other thing, these are scaffold jacks for holding up scaffold, or we use them for staging when we're working. And basically just about this height here is enough height for me. Now we don't need this, and these aren't used for actual structural scaffolding. They're used as legs for stages, so they're fine. But I'm going to shorten 4 of these, and it'll allow me to put a 2-inch galvanized bar on them, and then in under with these standing on the actual floor, the timber that's down on the floor in the aft cabin, I can then perfectly balance. I have enough range within this for someone to be in underneath the swim deck, we'll call it, and balance the gas box so that I'm getting corner to corner to get some tacks on it. So we'll stand it on those, and then we full adjustment then with the little turn screws, and it'll just make life a whole lot easier, because physically it's just too heavy to try and hold it there, and it's just too messy. So the simplest thing to do is just knock the heads off those, which I'll do now. So I've drilled the little hole there, you can see it now on this side. So it's going to be corner to corner the whole way around. I'll do that in 308, sorry, is the wire I'm going to use. And that should come up fine. So perfect, beautiful weld there. And just let me rotate this now. A little bit of light. There it is there. I won't even bother sanding that now, I'll just smoothen it a little bit. But that's perfect, welded all the way around. There's our little drain there now, perfectly smooth. I've just filed out the inside of it just to make sure nothing is, you know, the way it's welded with the weld. But that's perfect. So myself and Dara are going to get the gas locker, the new extension piece that goes down into the back of the aft cabin in today. The weather isn't too bad. There's Dara coming up behind me, and we're all set up and we're ready to run this and hopefully get it all tacked in place. Right, so set that one. I'll hold it here. Okay, and then keep one of these over here. See, these ones will have the back stops here, but they are about 5 mil too short. So somewhere in around there. Okay, now the middle ones. Now I'm going to leave off this side, the side that hasn't got the nozzle. So just give it a little support because it's going to fall through. There it is, and this. So I have to say it's been a complete success. It's probably taken us 2 days of complete work to do this whole project, but what it has given us is a huge improvement on our gas locker situation, which I was built 12 years ago, but to be honest I was never happy with it along the way. It looked lovely, it just wasn't very practical, and it had its own problems. So here we go, here's the mock-up of the final result, and I'll just walk down the steps here. So in the last gas version of it, you could actually see that the gas lid was, the top of the regulator was literally just under the height there. So now, as you can see, I have probably 6 inches there easily, enough space for 3 bottles. And on the sides here in this bit, I'll just put my foot in here. I'm going to put little small hatches there, and that's going to handle our power, water, bits and bobs in. And either side I'll just put little ones there. We'll still have space to throw stuff in there in the back into the 2 doors, which are going to be along here and here. There will be a centre column, so it'll be a case of putting one in and shoving it that way. That's not a problem. And this will be cut back now. I just cut the side off it there, and a whole new side will go on. I'm going to weld the new piece now directly onto this with a seamless weld that you won't ever see. It'll be all filled, and the new piece filling. So the very next thing I'm going to do in the next episode is make the new corners for these, because this box is now square, it's higher, it doesn't have to cut down like the old one did, and get the pieces of metal, get in the hatches, we call it, the 4 of them that I need, they're coming from Italy, and then I can cut those and put those in. So for now, all I'm going to do is keep it covered until I can paint it, at least get something, a level of protection on it, and then just continue on with the build. So folks, please subscribe. It really makes a difference to our getting the channel presented on the recommended on YouTube, and plenty of likes and comments, because that all brings up the algorithm. We're kind of sitting there kind of semi-stagnant in between the two, and I just love the channel to pop over 1,000, and that would make a huge difference to us. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode, and I promise we won't be waiting 2 weeks for the next one.